Welcome to Ticker Tidbits. Kate and Alex in today.
How's it going, everyone?
So today I want to talk about how dying on the floor does not lead to more.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so simple is not easy. Less is more. We're going to talk about Pinoy charts. We're going to talk about training. We're going to talk about sustainability.
Yeah. We're going to look at more of my Pinoy Test and all sorts of fun stuff.
We're going to look at feelings, kind of.
Kind of, a little bit of feelings.
Yep, and our own thing about, getting over yourself and training for you.
Yeah, training for life, leaving your ego at the door.
Man.
Oh, we're going to cover a lot today.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah.
So, on that effort, what was that?
What was this part?
Yeah.
It was a 500-meter row, 1 minute rest.
So 500-meter row, 1 minute rest. And did you purposefully hit a heart rate on the top of the 500 for the chart? So you rode 500 at MAF and then rested a minute and did that how many times? 10? 10 times. So that was simple to do, right? Because you had one thing. Now, in the second chart, it's not a whole lot different in terms of work to rest ratios.
No, it's a little bit more rest because there was the first one was only a minute rest. This one I got roughly 2 minutes of rest each round.
So it allowed you to train a little bit beyond your aerobic threshold.
Exactly.
But it allowed you also to recover back down so that the majority of the work was sitting right there. Like you can see on the chart where you have the biggest chunk of work before you do chest to bar pull-ups and you spike up. You can see that aligns with the other stuff where you have your mat.
Oh yeah, like if you were to draw a line from the top of this mono stuff, this rowing, it would be right around where I got off the assault bike until the later rounds when it started to stretch a little bit more.
Right. So you did thrusters, assault bike, and then chest to bar.
Yes.
So thrusters, how many did you do?
I did 5 thrusters.
So 5 thrusters got you right up into your
that's
mat.
that first little peak of each one, the 5 little thrusters, and then you can see where I slowly ramp up on the assault bike because I did 15 calories on the assault bike, so the first couple weren't that. The first couple calories I wasn't going that fast, but then I would keep the RPMs up there.
So if you would have stopped, if you would have been just doing thrusters and assault bike and then resting.
Oh, that would have been super aerobic.
I would have seen the same chart as we had with
it
just
would have
running.
been almost the same. Like the little peak would have gotten chopped off.
Which is an interesting thing because training-wise, training your aerobic capacity, you've worked for years on working aerobic capacity.
Yeah, 3 years now?
If I think about when you first came in and we look at your metabolic test and we see where you're efficient, like to show progress over just efficiency alone has been huge. Like what are some of do you know on the top of your head, some of the working maps you've worked at across?
So, I mean, most of them have been right around 150, but it's what I've been able to do under 150 that's been changing. So, when I got my first test, the actual MAF, like maximal aerobic function, that where I was burning the most fat was pretty low. It was like 110, but I was just told to keep it under 150.
Right.
It was like a hard stop. It was like at 150, 151, you're going too hard.
Got it.
And then it was basically never really changed off of that. But what happened is how much work I could do. Like if you look at a Pinoy test, when I would hit 150 was later in the test.
Right. And then I'm guessing we can look at this too, and I bet the quantity of oxygen you were using under 150 increased as well.
If you
the quantity of fat you were using as fuel as well. Would you say it was easy to work under 150 when you started compared to where you are now?
It was super hard when I started. Jeez,
right.
I never... I worked under 150.
Right, because
it was like one of the workouts I remember pretty vividly. What we used to do all the time was not all the time, but it was similar. It would be toes to bar, then rowing, and then double unders. I think it was one of the workouts was like 7 toes to bar, 14 calorie row, 35 double unders, a couple rounds of that, then rest, and a couple rounds, whatever.
Sure.
Toes to bar and double unders, I was sitting up at like 160. But my goal was like, okay, just get under 150 on the rower.
Right. So to work that work to rest ratio to have that average out at your average heart rate. But now if I look at when you rest, like even seeing that little bit of a spike, now had you changed to try to rest on the assault bike on that effort, The thrusters bring your heart rate up, and then you can see where even in just a little bit of transition in between thrusters and assault bike, your heart rate started to drop a little bit.
Yeah, I think if I would have slowed down on the assault bike a little bit more, what you would have seen is that first initial peak from the thrusters,
Right.
and then it would come back down and stay down pretty low, and then you'd see a little bit higher peak, but not much higher on the chest bars. It would not be like what it is now where it jumps above 161, where it's probably, I think it's like 170-ish at the top.
The interesting thing about this, and I look at these, I wrote notes down that we have two different WODs right in one chart, right? So we
Yep.
have a monostructural workout where you used one piece of equipment, a rowing machine.
Mm-hmm.
And that was to train essentially volume under a specific heart rate,
Yeah.
using oxygen, using fat as your fuel source, which you did a great job at. 500 meters on, 1 minute rest for 10. You probably could have done that forevermore.
Oh, yeah, I
Until
could have
you
gone
got
all day.
bored,
I mean,
right?
I was already getting bored, but
Right.
could have kept going. Yeah.
So training volume, that was a lot of volume.
Yeah, it ended up being 5K.
Awesome. So then when you moved into the second part of your workout and you added different things, you added some skill, like thrusters, add resistance training with a squat and a press.
Yep.
And then the assault bike keeps you moving. And then chest to bar pull-ups add a skill into that. So
Yeah.
then we were training that skill, which ended up pushing your aerobic capacity to be able to use weights and a skill within that same realm,
Yeah, correct.
which is awesome. We made a note down here that it's simple. Like, it sounds simple. Sit on a rower, train volume, do some other things if you're able to train skill, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah, simple doesn't mean easy. It's straightforward. What you're supposed to do is straightforward.
Right.
Slow down.
So, I mean, that's our philosophy, right? Is to do more work with less effort. And we can design your programming based on your intensity because we have a Pinoy test.
Yeah.
So I can see specifically, and that's what you use to decide what heart rate you wanted to sit down at. Like, do you have one open? All right. So we have a Pinoy test open from, when is this from?
This is from March of 2020.
So March of 2020 was, what was going on in your life in March of 2020?
Well, it was a shit show. I was finishing up my last semester of school. I think we've talked about this before on the podcast where we like take apart all of my Pinoy tests. But I was finishing up my semester in school.
Yep.
I was working both at the gym and as a coach at the pool.
Yep.
So just a lot of stuff outside the gym going on. So I wasn't really training that much.
Nutrition
And
was off.
my nutrition was off. Like, it was a whole, like, it was a shit show. And then later in March, the world became even more of a shit show. But either way, it was bad. I was not training.
Right. And I remember if this was a morning when you threw the mask on and you're like, I want to find out where I'm at to guide your training, essentially. So you put this on and we wondered if the thing was broken because you didn't expect to see such an
I didn't expect it to be so bad. I knew it was going to be bad, but like, oh.
Ooh. So looking at this chart right here, the purple is where you are breathing a lot of carbon dioxide out in comparison to bringing in oxygen and burning all carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And the yellow that we can kind of see underneath there is where you're using oxygen and fat, meaning it's an efficient effort. So your body was so stressed out with life at this point that it really didn't want you to train at all nor move.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I look at it. Like, you're a very stressed out person.
That was like, hey, bro, take a break.
So what did you do to change? So this is one of the metrics that we use to guide training. And I look at you like, all right, you're stressed out, fix all the things. And?
Well, part of it was I looked outside the gym. I fixed all the things that were stressing me out. Okay. Well, or the world fixed it for me.
Right.
School got canceled, basically.
Right.
I went back home to my parents.
Right.
Wasn't working anything at all, basically. I think it was a month and a half, 2 months off, and I brought home a bunch of gym equipment.
Okay.
And the most important thing, I brought home a rower.
Okay, so tell me what you did for training.
I sat on a rower forever. So long on the rower. Every workout. It was like 2 pull-ups and then sit on the rower for 1,000 meters and get your heart rate down. And then do a thruster and then sit on the rower forever.
Why did you decide to do that way?
Because I knew that was the only way I was going to make that better.
Right. And
it was the boring stuff. I knew that, unfortunately, the boring stuff, the fun stuff that I really enjoy doing, like the muscle ups, first of all, I was like too fat to do muscle ups. I tried. I set up a pull-up bar in my garage so that I could do muscle ups. I didn't do one muscle up while I was home because I couldn't do it. like thrusters, rope climbs. It was just too much.
Yeah.
Like my heart rate would immediately hit 170.
What would it feel like to have a heart rate that high, and what are the risks of training no matter what?
So, like, to have a heart rate that high, I wasn't getting better at all, first of all.
Right.
And risk of injury, super high. I could tell the days where I went a little too hard because the next day I wake up and I'm like, oh, my knee's a little achy. Oh boy,
Yeah.
I messed up.
Which, like anytime we see purple up there on that chart, you have to recover from that effort. So when you use carbohydrates, it's your body giving you a fast burning fuel that you're able to replace.
Yeah.
So being able to replace it is fun, but it's limited. And then eventually your success there will be limited and you'll cap out either by, you'll find something else that's exciting or you'll get bored or you'll get injured or something else. So having sustainable work way down there where we have yellow, what heart rate did you pay attention to heart rate, or was it just like I need to move easily?
To be honest, the beginning I didn't pay attention to heart rate. It was like I knew it didn't even matter. Like looking at that test, there was no heart rate where I'm efficient.
Right. I would basically just tell you move in a way that you're able to breathe easy, so I know that you're bringing in as much oxygen as possible, and hope that your system calms down.
Yeah, and also I once I fixed my diet, obviously I stopped supplying as much carbs, so there's not really carbs to burn. And then I would literally the first couple of weeks was sit on a rower, and I would row, and then I would hop off. I'd do some double unders, and I'd row, and I'd do that for an hour, and then maybe I'd do some lifting, and that was like my training for the first month. And then I was like, okay, I've probably gotten better to start adding in some fun stuff. So then I brought I'll do some wall balls, and then some rowing, and then some toes to bar, and then some rowing, and then a little bit of something, and then some rowing. Yeah. And it was winter, so no running. It was just rowing.
Just rowing because you didn't have a bike either.
Yep.
The interesting thing, I hear your mindset of you knew it would work. You trusted that.
Oh, because it's worked for me in the past. We can go back to my even earlier Pinoy tests that were not as hot garbage as that one, but they were definitely not great. Right. And then you could see the progress. There was a Pinoy test out there, if you go back and watch the podcast, where it's almost all yellow. I know I can get there where I'm burning all fat the whole time. Yeah.
So the simple answer is you just need to work in a way that you feel is sustainable, even if it is not sexy or fun.
No, it's not fun, dude. None of my time. My 5K row, aerobic row, aerobic because I wasn't using a heart rate monitor, was a half hour. Right. And to go from where my 5K row used to be and is now 20 minutes aerobically, I can hold 2 minutes per 500 on the rower all day long.
Because you put in the work to make sure that you got to.
Because I sat on the rower for an hour at a time and did nothing besides row.
So let's look at your current test, which looks dramatically different. So if I look at this current test, we still have purple, which is fine because this was a maximal test. So when I analyze these tests, I want to see aerobic capacity, which is where you're using oxygen the most and using fat, meaning it's sustainable. But I also, because of maximal test, want to know that you can hit every single energy system. So I do need you to pull some carbohydrates. I do need you to breathe hard enough that you're breathing out carbon dioxide in relation to bringing in oxygen, because that's your maximal effort. But on this test, it needs to be for a short period of time, meaning when you need to go, your body knows how to respond.
And even this one isn't perfect because, you can see, there's purple throughout this whole test, and it is what it is. This last one was in the middle of strength focused cycle where I wasn't too concerned about metcons or anything like that or aerobic capacity. It was just get strong. Right. And for it to be this good still, when I wasn't even thinking about it, and I was also eating more carbs because I needed to recover from the lifting.
Right. Your goal fit what this chart shows. Now, you still did mono structural activity paired with your lifting.
Yeah. So that was towards the end where I was like, you know what? I don't want this to get any worse. Right. This is okay. I can live with this. Right. I can't let it get worse.
Because you probably felt good. I mean, you have a decent capacity through here. You have a decent amount of time.
My fat really drops off at 157. Right. 157 beats. So, I mean, obviously, there's 50-50 carbs and fat up until 157. So
then it's just manipulating what skills, what rep sets. Yeah. How heavy the weights are during the Metcon sessions you were doing to make sure that you manipulate this and then still go into that threshold to push that farther and farther and farther because you have fat and oxygen use beyond that crossover point, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You don't drop off completely like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, like I drop off until 168-ish. At 168, like fat drops off.
Yeah.
So as long as I'm keeping it under 168, I'm doing okay work. If I'm doing good work under 158 and under 150, I'm doing great work.
Right. Which is why we use the metrics of a heart rate monitor while training, either your watch or your chest strap, so that we can gauge exactly where you're working and why.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's simple if you're just looking up and look at a number like, I know I need to stay, at 150. What does that mean? Maybe you slow down. Maybe it's a walk. Maybe it's a really slow 5K.
And maybe it's just taking, like, especially if you're doing a workout that has some more skills in it, take the time before you get to the next skill. Like, if you're doing wall balls into, I don't know, something that's going to spike your double unders, right? That's a really hard combo to keep your heart rate down.
Yeah.
But maybe if you do your wall balls nice and light wall balls, you have to check your ego and like, okay, I guess I'll use the 14-pound wall ball or the 10-pound wall ball.
Yeah.
Do those wall balls, put it down. Okay, let's take a couple seconds. All right, now let's get into the double unders. Give yourself a second to like let your heart rate settle maybe, and maybe it doesn't.
And then you know where to put your work.
Yeah.
If I think about the workout we were looking at, that chart that we had before when you were doing thrusters, a decently heavy weight. It was not, the classic 95-pound thruster. It was 115 pounds. That's aerobically training a heavier weight. And then you did chest-to-bar pull-ups, not regular pull-ups. So that was training a skill. And although it pulled you up into a threshold point, you were still able to recover because you averaged out right at your heart rate. That was,
and the next day, I didn't feel too bad from that workout either.
I bet you didn't. And all the monostructural work you did. Yeah. So that's the game, is like where we can see your intensity starts, where we can see that you're aerobically efficient. It is how skilled, how heavy, how fast can you go? Yeah. Maybe when you start. I mean, I know when I started, I could do thrusters with a barbell. And then it was like, all right.
Even then, I'm
recovering, right? I'm recovering pretty well. And it took many weeks. And it's like, maybe I can throw on 5s.
Oh, yeah. We're getting to the big boy weights now.
Right? But now I look at it like, because I put in the time, just, you said check your ego at the door. Just do the light weights, do the different rep sets, and train yourself to not have that full stress response on daily training. Yeah. I'm not competing every day.
No.
To be able to handle it so that I get faster, better, stronger.
Exactly.
Something you said yesterday, wish my phone was here. We were talking about...
It is. It's just right there.
Oh, it's right there. I can look at it. Why you come into the gym. So we touched on goals of like... Obviously, in the beginning of the year, a lot of people set new fitness goals. A lot of people join gyms or change gyms or suddenly decide like, I'm going to get serious.
Yeah.
Coming into Ticker where we're like, all right, here's where you're at. Here's your efficiency score where you can work, where you're using oxygen. Here's your math.
Yeah.
Do the work. Then one might argue that it's easy. I said it was easy, and you said, no, it's not.
No, yeah.
And I agree with
There's a big difference between simple and easy.
Right.
The idea that we use to get better, to get people more fit is very simple. Slow down, do more work with less effort.
Yep.
Very simple.
Pace yourself to do the most amount of work with the least amount of strain on your system.
Yeah. But that's not easy. That is the opposite of easy. That is really, really hard for people. Even for me, when I first started, it was 3 months of not listening.
Yeah.
And it took a total breakdown, a complete breakdown of... I felt like I was going to freaking die in a workout. Now, part of it was I remember the day before I had a crap ton of caffeine. Like, so much, like 800 milligrams of caffeine in a day. It was so much. And I long road trip, whatever. But I was dying in a workout. And Brian and people like that were kicking my ass.
Yeah.
And it was like, fuck, dude. Like, I guess, Max, what do I got to do?
Slow down.
And that's what it took. I was like, you really? Like, slow down, take less weight off? What do you mean? I'm strong. I was like, I can clean 225 pounds. Like, what do you mean? I'm so strong.
What do you clean now?
295.
Right.
Probably 315 if I rested properly.
Exactly. Well, it's an interesting thing of like coming into the gym every day. We used to tell people that would come in and they would want to win. They'd want to die on the floor. Yeah. Because they were faster, better, stronger, and they could do it every day and prove something. And it was the proving something to somebody else that was the problem. And that's what we touched on last night. And we used to tell those people, we're like, if it's so easy, then why can't you do it?
Yeah, why can't you slow down if it's so easy? It's not easy. And the things that go into making it look easy are also not easy. Like I'm
That's a good point.
like every once in a while people looking like, oh, it's so fun to watch you work out. Like, first of all, thank you. But like my whole life is around working out right now.
Right.
Like, I wake up, I make a massive breakfast. I wake up super early so I can make a good breakfast to start the day. And then I come into the gym and I work at the gym.
Yep.
And then I eat throughout the day in the gym.
Yep.
And then I work out. And then I eat. And then I work out. And then I eat. And then I work out. And then I eat. And then I go back to work. And then I go home. And then I eat. And then I go to bed.
Yeah.
That's not easy. That's really boring.
In between there, you're stretching and you're doing some other stuff.
And I'm programming, whatever. Like, everything is going into the gym. I don't have to worry about a life outside of the gym.
And the stuff that you do outside of the gym is like, you know, I looked at you yesterday. You spent a decent amount of time outside breathing fresh air, getting as much vitamin D that we can in January in Michigan. But you spend time outside doing other things that are vital to recovery.
It's not easy. Like, it's really hard.
Yeah.
But if you want to be good at it and if you actually care, you're going to have to do it. And if you're doing it for anyone else, you're not going to do the hard stuff.
Yeah. I looked at you yesterday working out and it was interesting to watch, or maybe it was Monday. And a lot of the stuff you design and you do is to make yourself better because you care deeply about making yourself better.
Yeah.
You're not trying to beat us.
No, I don't. I work out alone most of the time because when I do work out with people, I end up just trying to beat people. Right. And then I do something stupid.
Right.
And then I hurt myself. And then I have to take time off and I'm no longer getting better. I'm getting worse.
Right. And
I'm not saying you have to go work out alone all the time and work out in a corner, put headphones on and ignore everyone else at the gym. No, you can have fun. And like, I still interact with people at the gym. But when I do my workout, I focus on the parts that I need to focus on.
And because you can simplify your training for your goals and you can do the hard work that makes it look easy for you to work, you're seeing measurable progress in every aspect of what you train.
Yeah.
Boom, ticker right there.
There it is. Follow us on all the social medias. Leave a comment below on what you think about all this and if you're struggling or if you found it easy or success, whatever you may have found when you slow down.
Reach out. Talk to us.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.